hello, welcome everybody to the first Roast webinar of 2023. Quick intro about the company. So Roast is of course a performance media agency, and online we have with us Marcelo Alberti from Google. We are premium Google partners, which means we are in the top 3% of agencies in the UK in terms of sophistication and capabilities in the team, and we're very pleased to be able to host this in association with Google. Before I let our two panelists introduce themselves, I'll just cover off the topic for today's webinar. We'll be covering GA4, time to take on the new generation of analytics. Throughout this webinar, we'll be delving into the need to knows around universal analytics sunsetting in July, why you need to plan now and why it's such an important step in the digital space. So first, covering off our whole panel today, we have myself, I'm Will Jennings, I'm head of paid media here at Roast. We also have Milan and Marcelo, who I'll let introduce themselves now. So Milan, please.
Sure. Hi guys. As Will mentioned, I'm Milan, a data analyst here at Roast. I've been working here in the analytics team for over 5 years now, having joined as a master's graduate and a taste for numbers. My role here has been quite varied, starting from data visualization and building dashboards, on towards advanced analysis, attribution modeling, also obviously including the operation side of analytics, such as Google Analytics audits, GTM implementations, and most recently GA4 migrations.
Great, and Marcelo.
Yes, hi everybody. I am Chelo or Marcelo, and I'm a strategic agency manager at Google, which means that I help agencies like Roast grow their business and their clients' businesses through Google solution. So I've been working at Google for almost 7 years. I started in the Argentinian office, where I'm originally from, and then I transferred to our Dublin hub for the region, working with agencies in the UK. And I wanted to thank Rose for the invitation today. This is a very important topic for us, and we want to make sure that we provide the right solutions for each business. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about GA4 and all the things that you need to know in order to have a successful experience with the migration. So thanks.
Brilliant, thanks, Cello. So let's dive into it then. We've got a series of questions to ask our panelists throughout the webinar. If you have any further questions, please do drop them in and we'll get to a Q&A session at the end. But first, Marcelo, we know that Universal Analytics is leaving us for good in July. What does that actually mean for the users, and why do we need to be so prepared for it starting now, even though it's months away?
Yes, perfect. I think that's the million-dollar question, right? So as we all know by now, regulatory changes and browser updates and actually changes in the user expectations have impacted the world of measurement in the past couple of years. So providing a new analytics solution that is privacy-centric by design has been one of the priorities for us, and that is GA4, Google Analytics 4. We want to help businesses control how the data is collected and used based on users' consent. But in order for you to take full advantage of that, we need to ensure that your current analytics strategy, if you were using Universal Analytics, gets fully migrated to Google Analytics 4 by July 1st. You can and should start doing it now, but July 1st is the deadline for when Universal Analytics will stop collecting data. So any data that you have from that you haven't migrated by then, that's something that you might lose in the future. And with this, I mean conversion data, meaning the goals that you have imported, but also audiences. Both things, if you're using both currently, needs to be fully migrated by July 1st. So I think that's the scary thing about that, but we're confident that agencies and advertisers are able to do that now, and we are providing the resources and the support in order to help you navigate this change.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so quite a hard deadline we've got in place there. Milan, how are you going about preparing our current clients and future clients for this update at Roast? What elements are they needing to be thinking about now, and what should they be planning for in the future?
Yeah, of course. So GA4 is actually nothing new. It's been around with Google for over 2 years now, but it's only around this time last year where, as Marcelo mentioned, that they will stop processing any data after the deadline of July 1st, 2023 in Universal Analytics. So around this time last year, when this announcement was made, we've been working hard to know how to transition best across from using Universal Analytics onto GA4. By doing so, we create a measurement strategy and how to migrate and tailor this to each individual client. So broadly speaking, how this works is we like to assess your business objectives, determine how to measure them, and then how to prioritize KPIs and implement the events in order to track this. And as a saying goes, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. So whilst this is a slight exaggeration on GA4 here, but you get the point. So we really want to reiterate the point of implementing GA4 sooner the better. And as we're trying to send out this message, it's actually been a big learning experience for us, trying to encourage our clients and users to adopt this philosophy and instill this sense of urgency. And we want to stress the importance of having this historic data to enable year-on-year analysis for like-for-like data, but also to allow an adjustment period for time to learn the platform from its new nuances and new user interface, which is important to get your head around.
Brilliant, thanks. Is that one of your sayings you came up with there?
I wish.
Yeah, okay. So Chelo, what for you now? How have you found, from Google's perspective, encouraging businesses to migrate to GA4? Have you found any pushback? Has there been any concerns? See anything from your side?
So yeah, it's, as Milan said before, this is not a new thing in the sense that it's not from the last couple of months. This has been around. If anything, we're shifting priorities and we're trying to create a sense of urgency for the advertisers. So of course, the first thing that we needed to do as a company was to make sure that our partners, meaning the agencies, but also our advertisers, had all the knowledge they needed and the skills to do that. So raising awareness about why this was important, providing the context about how the digital landscape has evolved over the past few years, but also providing the tools to assist them. That was the main thing at the beginning. Now, because of the deadline in July, we're shifting in a way that we make sure that we are providing the support in a step-by-step situation to actually give them the how to go about making the changes, how to make sure that you are securing all the data that you have, and how you make sure that the migration is done successfully. So far, I would say that we have been very successful and the progress has been great, but it is true that for some clients, this is a very complex situation because of the structures that they are using now, because of the solutions that they have. So integration with other platforms, other programs had been a little bit tricky for some of them, but we are confident that we are providing the support, and Rose, as a premier Google partner, they have this technical support for the client. So I would recommend any client that still have questions about how to navigate this change, that they reach out to the agency so we can assist you with that as well, because we do have technical support helping you with that transition.
Perfect. I guess then leading on from that point there, would you mind taking us through some of the sort of the new features and capabilities of GA4? What are things that users and advertisers can get really excited about, and yeah, new capabilities? Yeah, absolutely. The way I see, there are three big areas in which GA4 is making improvements to the measurement. The first thing to highlight is that GA4 allows to see a more unified user journey across web and app. So this means that you can measure things in a more unified and holistic way in order to capture the whole user journey by connecting all of these data points. That this was something that Universal Analytics unfortunately didn't have as a capability. Another great highlight is the improved reporting capabilities and the option for you to customize your report, leveraging the power of Google's artificial intelligence solutions. So with this, you can understand a little better your business performance, while at the same time surfacing new insights and even building predictive audiences for you to utilize. For me, that capability of having predictive audiences is one of the biggest things to consider now that we want to make sure that first-party data
is at the core of any solution that we offer. And the last thing that I want to highlight is GA4 will allow for a better and deeper understanding of your customer's behavior through more advanced modeling techniques. So you can activate and use that first-party data audiences across channels and leverage the integrations with Google Media platforms to optimize the media spend and improve the marketing returns. So it will give you extra insight for you to make more informed decisions about how to allocate your budget across media and across campaigns.
Great. So I guess that last point is particularly interesting for me, Marcelo, maybe selfishly with my paid media hat on. Given the increased importance of the first-party audiences with the looming demise of the third-party cookie, do you see the Google stack becoming increasingly structurally integral to the modern sort of digital ecosystem due to this increased audience capability and audience understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like now more than ever, we need to leverage these capabilities that we have for machine learning, for artificial intelligence to boost our ads strategy. And these are not particularly new things. You have seen that in the past with the way we're using smart bidding, the way we're using broad match in Google Ads, the way we are using our audience expansions. But this is one more thing for us to add to that suite of services or the solutions to have a more integrated view and to stop thinking about our marketing strategy in silos, but more so in a more holistic and comprehensive way. So yes, absolutely.
Perfect, thank you. And then Milan, more from your point of view, are there any features that you're seeing particularly useful from the sort of day-to-day usage of the platform?
Yeah, of course. I'd like to reiterate what Marcelo mentioned about the predictive modeling capabilities and the predictive audiences. This is something that we've seen throughout the tech industry of the increased use of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And it's great to see Google adopt these techniques within the platform itself and enables the user to tackle these advanced analyses within their fingertips. And obviously from a data analyst perspective, I'm excited about the opportunities of linking your GA4 data into BigQuery beyond. Well, firstly, I should mention this was only accessible to GA360 users before, but however, now it's open to all GA4 users. And beyond BigQuery being just a data warehouse, it allows you to leverage Google Cloud's computing power analyses, as well as integrating with other source and tables. But yeah, I'm excited for all these advanced techniques that are just within reach within GA4 for everyone to use.
Perfect. So I guess one for broader discussion now, how can we ensure that these improvements we're talking about are the right thing for our users and potential customers? Maybe Marcelo, if you could start.
Yeah, and that's a great question because there is actually a very interesting study conducted by McKinsey last year that found out that 71% of customers expect to receive a personalized message. So they expect personalized interactions when they browse across the internet. So even though we are moving to a more privacy-focused landscape because users are expecting that, we're still experiencing this expectation to receive the right content at the right time, based on their needs that they have and the relationship that they have with their brand or company and the information that users are providing to those companies, meaning the consent that they have given. So in a nutshell, we need to acknowledge the fact and embrace the fact that we are in a situation that the industry needs to be thinking about how the future is consented, meaning that what the user is willing to give as information is first party because of all the changes in the third party deprecation, and is modeled because with all of these changes, we need to make sure that we can scale the learnings and model our solutions in a way that makes sense for the system to learn from them. So anything that we have to do as marketers need to have the user's needs and expectations top of mind, because if not, or everything else will fail.
Yeah, and just to add to that, by design, GA4 is a lot more user-centric, based on the data model it's built on. And this allows the user to be at the heart of this and the capabilities within the platform to help support this and create insights from this, as Marcelo mentioned, including audiences and behavior modeling.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. I mean, I guess getting a little bit more into the weeds of this now. Apologies if we get a bit too technical. But Milan, look at the practicalities of the data usage. What does an overview of the migration from UA to GA4 look like? How long should brands be planning to allow for this, and what should they expect along the way?
Sure, of course. So to begin with, I think it's important to take stock and pause and assess what data you're actually gathering and collecting, and how reliable this actually is, whether it's within Universal Analytics or elsewhere. So this typically includes conducting an audit of some sort, whether it's in GA or all your data involved. And something to mention, this is a great opportunity for a fresh start and to allow you to correct any either bad habits or correct any mistakes or inaccuracies along the way and to start from scratch. So firstly, you should consider your business objectives and how they can be tied to the digital data that's being collected. So this may involve monitoring aspects such as brand awareness, user acquisition, website engagement, or including new or returning user behaviors and other events on your site. So it's essential to determine how to measure each of these for the user events and to do so in a clear and concise manner, and be mindful of how GA4's data structure is. So it's crucial to plan and prioritize what you want to measure upfront rather than automatically just transferring all your same events from Universal Analytics into GA4. So with GA4 having a different data model to UA, everything is event-based, and all these events related to the measurements that need to be implemented, whether that's within GA4, within the features it allows you to do this, or within GTM and implementing these as further custom events. So whilst this measurement strategy and complexity can vary from client to client, this is something that we want to assist with, and also assisting beyond this is to actually understand how to utilize this information and how to leverage it going forward to its full potential. So the boring answer is it depends, as typical, but from what we've seen from our previous experiences is to allow around a month for the setup and actually understanding and transitioning and learning how to use the platform itself. Okay, cool. That's really actual insight there. And then more on a personal level, obviously as a heavy analytics user in the past, you've got a great deal of experience using UA and all of its features. What's the change like for you personally, shifting to GA4? Is there anything a digital manager out there might have to worry about? Is there any concerns you think they might be feeling? Okay, so yeah, as I mentioned before, GA4 isn't anything new. It's been around for more than 2 years now. And previous to that, it was actually branded as the app and web property within GA. Whilst I personally haven't had at the time experience within using this property, but once it kind of got upgraded or rebranded to GA4, this poses a new opportunity and exciting chance to learn more about GA. And as you mentioned, I have been using Universal Analytics a lot, and if anything, this is somewhat of a downside, becoming more versed in UA, just because we're so used to that platform and how it works with the intricacies and become an expert on it, that when introduced to GA4, you're faced with a new user interface, and that for a lot of people throws you off at first, but no worries. This is something that is an adjustment period of actually learning where each of the different things are, what you're used to within Universal Analytics, where that sits now within GA4. So it takes some time to get into use that. And also things like playing around with Explore reports, whether the pre-made reports, if you can't find information there, you're welcome to expand the opportunities by creating custom reports essentially and exploring further from there. So whilst this is something to play around with and adjust with, another adjustment area I would say is the different dimensions and metrics used. Whilst vast majority of the metrics are the same. There are some slight nuances with the different dimensions involved, and it's important to note how specific these are and relating to the events they're attributed towards. And this takes getting used to for sure. But yeah, I think it's very important to get to grips with it, the sooner the better. And so, as I would say overall, the main thing to worry about is just time. I think myself, from my experience of struggling with this adjustment period, the sooner you start playing around with it, the better, and just allow that time to adjust to this. We know that Universal Analytics will be sunsetting July 1st, so we've got less than 4 months now to get to grips with it, and start using it, to gain insights and play around with it, run it concurrently with Universal Analytics, and wrestle with these struggles and road to understanding better. And we're always here to help along the way.
Perfect, thank you. I guess on that point then, Marcelo, maybe one for the Google side. We know that there's an automated migration offering currently, importantly with an opt-out feature. Could you run us through the pros and cons of using that automated migration? Who is that opt-out function aimed at, and why may you want to opt out?
Yes. So yes, there is an option to let the system do this automatically. So you might have seen it in your Universal Analytics account, so you might get an email with this. What will happen is if you don't migrate things manually and you don't opt out for this, the system will create the migration for you. We create a GA4 property for you with the basic settings. We still strongly recommend that you do this manually, because you will be able to migrate things the way you want to do it, migrate the audiences that you think are the right audiences. And not everything in analytics, Universal Analytics, have the same counterpart in GA4. So there might be some inconsistencies if you don't do it manually. We still have this as a safety net, if you want to put it in easier terms, but it shouldn't be the priority. We still want, as Milan was saying, we want you to be able to navigate this new platform, to get a sense of what is new, what is exciting, what are the new capabilities that you have, and to make sure that you're tracking the right things that you were tracking before. And if you still have questions about how to do it, as I said before, we do have support for this. So don't think that because you're not an expert or like a technical expert on this, you won't be able to do it and you will have to rely on the automatic solution. You can still take a lot of benefit by talking to support and seeing if you can get some assistance on this as well.
Yeah, agreed. And I like the term that you used there of safety net. This is by no means once if you opt in, this is it, you're done, and you can carry on using it. This is for those who, for whatever reason, forget or don't move over in time. But we, like Marcelo mentioned, we strongly suggest to migrate manually, and this, as I mentioned before, allows you a fresh start, allows you to track from the ground up, and take restock on what is actually valuable to you and what insights you want to get from this, and track the right events and data. Perfect.
Okay, yeah, it's a pretty solid recommendation there to definitely manually migrate if you can. If you have the option, then use the automated feature. That's great. So moving slightly more into the generic features, then, Milan, what do you see are the main benefits of having app and web data in the same place? That's one of the main selling points of GA4, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. And as I mentioned before, this is what the platform used to be as an app and web property. And typically, people aren't used to seeing their app and web data in one place, but together this allows a unified view of how your performance is across your app and web. But this also allows you to have insights on the transition between your app and website, and allows you to leverage GA4's capability, such as creating audiences and informing your paid search campaigns to how to encourage more users towards your app. Also, obviously, again, leveraging the capabilities of predictive modeling to gain further insights.
Perfect. And then coming to our last couple of questions now. Given that GA4 is designed to be a very privacy-centric platform, what are some of the feature updates around this that are different from what we find in UA?
Yeah, so the great thing about GA4, IP anonymization is enabled by default, and this can't be switched off. So this means that GA4 will not store your IP address for users and cannot track extra users. So from a GDPR perspective, this is considered one of the more important changes for GA4 and helping them to be more compliant to GDPR. And one thing to mention that you may have seen within the automatic setup is the data retention within the platform is either 2 or 14 months. So strongly recommend automatically just to switch that to 14 months, just to gather as much data as you can. But previously within GA, you could store collector data for up to 64 months. So this change in data retention allows you to be more data compliant. And finally, it gives you the option for consent modes, and this allows for modifying the behavior of Google tags on your website and understand the user's consent preferences. So you can instruct GA4 to track users' behavior according to the user's consent preferences.
Perfect. Okay, finally now, thanks for all that insight, guys. That's really helpful. But question for both of you. How is it best to keep up to date with any changes going on with GA4? Any updates, any industry news? Are there any good newsletters or blogs that people can follow to keep up to date and keep their finger on the pulse?
Yeah, so there are two key analytics gurus out there that I like to follow, both in their blog and their newsletters. So firstly is Julius from Analytics Mania and Charles Fariner. If you don't know these two already, I highly recommend that you follow them, and as they provide great insights and always on the forefront of Google's updates, pushing their limits and answering questions that we as users may have thought of and asked ourselves internally and struggled with, but had no answers to get insights from. But these are the people that ask the same question, provide solutions and their findings. And last but not least, Google provides great documentation on all the changes to the GA4 migration, enabling you to have access to a plethora of documentation and guides to help you further your understanding.
Yes, I think those are great recommendations, and somebody's asking in the chat if we can then share those recommendations with the attendees. I'm sure we can. And let me add a couple more from Google's side. We have two main official sources for all things related to marketing and technology more in general. The first one would be the Think with Google blog. There you will have all the latest marketing research, digital trends, data reports, case studies, anything that has to do with marketing. And then the other one is the Keyword, which is the official Google blog for the latest news and stories about Google products, technology, and innovation. So keeping those and subscribing to those and getting the emails, I think is going to be an easy win for everybody to be more in the know about what's happening in the industry.
Perfect. Well, thank you both. So firstly, before we jump into Q&A, I'd like to thank both Milan and Marcelo for their time today. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll of course follow up with a free guide covering all of the questions from today and any follow-up questions we're about to go through now as well. If you have any further information or questions, please do reach out to us on roast@tpgroup.com. So that's roast@tipigroup.com. So firstly, well, finally, actually, a couple of questions from the audience. First one being, what's the difference between session source/medium and source medium? I never really know which one to use. Milan, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, go for it. Okay, so this is a great question and something I personally also struggle with when adjusting from UA to GA4. Within Universal Analytics, we used to just see source medium and the different metrics that are attributed towards it. However, it's slightly different within GA4, and I would actually like to add an additional dimension to that list. So there's another dimension called first user source medium, and as the name suggests, this tells you first source medium that a user, how the user comes to your site. So if you had a user that throughout their journey had 3 sessions, they came in through organic, navigated the site, went away, came back through paid search, navigate to the site, and finally they came on direct and navigate to the site again. So the first user source medium in this case would be organic, as that was the first instance that the user came to the site. However, the session source medium describes each of those individual sessions and how they navigate the site, the different events that took place, of course, spanning each of those individual sessions. And then finally, source medium on its own, this is referring to how the conversions are attributed to these source mediums. So again, using an example of organic and paid direct, different events could occur on each of the different sessions, and different conversions would take place. And how those conversions are attributed to this source medium depends on the underlying attribution model that is set within your GA4 platform, and helps attribute in that way. Typically, by default, is usually set as data-driven attribution, another benefit of GA4, but of course, you're welcome to change this to how it aligns best to your business.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got a couple more questions coming up. First one, is there any way to attain more than 14 months data within GA4? Another one for you, Milan.
Yeah. Okay, so as I mentioned, the data retention is the 2 or 14 months. I recommend to shift to 14 months. So after the 14-month period, this data is then aggregated. And whilst you can look back on it, you can't necessarily drill down to a more granular level. So if you require accessing data beyond 14 months, I'd recommend linking to BigQuery and having access to all your data there. And I'd like to reiterate that if you are thinking of retaining data longer than 14 months, it's best to link to BigQuery now, because the data is only collected from the point you connect to it onwards. So in over a year's time, when you're looking back 14 months, you'll be looking back at this time for the data that's pushed into BigQuery.
Perfect, that makes total sense. Next one, how can I exclude internal IP addresses so I only capture true customer activity? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I can take that. So this is again within the settings within the property itself, and specifically the data stream. And similar to UA, where you can filter out IP addresses for internal users with a filter, there is a similar setting within GA4 where you can do this.
Okay, great. Next one, is a session length still 30 minutes, e.g. a new session starts after 10 minutes of inactivity, 30 minutes, sorry. Does that one make sense?
Oh, let me get it later.
So we've got it's coming in two different sections here. Is session length still 10 minutes, e.g. a new session starts after 10 minutes of inactivity, 30 minutes, sorry.
So I'll assume that it's the 30 minutes,
Yeah,
swapping that up. So as far as I'm aware, that there is no longer a specific time limit for the session. This is something that is recorded within a GA4 event of the session time, but that is something that we can get back to you on, just to make sure we give an accurate answer there. Unless, Shelley, do you have any extra understanding of that front?
Oh, I was going to say something similar. Like the definition of what a session is will depend whether you're using GA4, if you're using Google Ads, if you're using maybe for Meta, you have a different way of tracking that. So I don't know that at the top of my head. So maybe we should get back to that to make sure that we know for the fact how potentially that changes across platforms.
Okay, great. And coming on to our final question from the audience. Please can you advise on UTMs for tracking inbound traffic from both our own adverts /PR/social posts and from the same that is generated by third parties we collaborate with? Do you have recommended structure or protocol for this?
Okay, so from my point of view, this sits a bit outside the aspect with the capabilities of GA4, but I think how to manage the data coming into GA4, this will help you analyze the different UTM parameters that are set up and how they're categorized within the platform itself. And this can be looked at through that dimension of landing page and query string, also page URL that you can construct from there. And running that against different adverts or PR social activities. These are similar to UA, where these are pulled in and you can see them at an event level.
Perfect, thank you. That brings us to the end of the Q&A section. Again, if you have any further questions, please do get in touch with us, roast@tpgroup.com, and we'll be happy to come back to you on any of those queries. But for now, thank you, Milan, thank you, Cello, on the line, for coming today. It's been really insightful. I hope everyone online has taken some good notes and recommendations, really insightful advice from two experts here. Have a great rest of your day and rest of the week, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Marcelo.